I'm tossing it to Jen for some news about the Voyager Binance deal. What do you got?
Okay, so the Department of Justice is saying that that deal should be put on hold while legal objections are ironed out. In a filing on Tuesday, the U.S. trustee expressed concerns that the deal would absolve Voyager and its staff from breaches of tax or security law. Last week, New York bankruptcy judge Michael Wiles approved the deal after showing skepticism towards the government's arguments. Now, Zach, I'm going to throw this one off to you. I know you've said on the show before that exchange tokens maybe should be looked at as a security, and that's one of the issues that's come up in this kind of back and forth between regulators and the bankruptcy court. So my question to you is, do you think that this should be on hold while the regulators figure this out, or is this just like process gone wildly wrong?
I mean, that would take a long time for the regulators to figure it out. So I would not advise that it should wait until then. I mean, the DOJ would say this, right? Like, Binance is increasingly under the microscope as it relates to U.S. law enforcement and U.S. regulatory bodies. The fact that they're upset that this deal may come to pass, I think, is perfectly understandable and is in keeping with past statements from a lot of enforcement and regulatory agencies in the U.S., with Binance specifically being sort of persona non grata as it relates to crypto innovation here on U.S. shores, right? We saw previous action led by the SEC against Paxos, which was partnering with Binance to issue the BUSD stablecoin. Largely, and a lot of the speculation there was that this specific targeted attack against BUSD and none of the other stablecoins within the Paxos portfolio had much more to do with Binance being involved than anything else, right? So I think there is a growing skepticism given Binance's history with being a bit lax on the compliance side. I think they've come a long way and have certainly made great strides in getting their house in order. But that doesn't mean that U.S. regulators specifically aren't pissed off that Binance had been sort of flouting a lot of these things in the past and jumping from one jurisdiction to the next in a bid to sort of erase the trail. But anyway, I think Binance, to its credit, has indeed come a long way. Whether or not this deal gets done, obviously seems to be an open question with the DOJ potentially intervening. It's going to be interesting to see if this comes to pass. But hey, let's see. Let's see if we can get done and some of these Voyager customers can, get their funds restored and all that good stuff. Will, I'm tossing it to you.
Yeah, this whole case has just been like taking forever, right? Like, we saw the thing with Voyager explode over the summer, and then they were purchased by FTX, then FTX went under, and now there's been this back and forth with Binance US and then purchasing the Voyager estate. And that's a whole lot of crypto, about $1 billion worth of crypto, and it's a whole lot of users that Binance US can scoop up. So I think that's the center for Binance US, right? For the government's perspective here, and there's been a lot of pushback from multiple different agencies, they want to make sure that, one, the executives at Voyager who made these bad decisions are held accountable, and two, that Binance US, which they have certain reservations about, isn't able to proceed in growing its business if it should not be able to grow its business. The second part here with the Binance US deal is the difficult one, right? Because we don't really know if Binance US is skirting the law. There was some recent stuff with the SEC and Binance US going to court, and a judge said to the SEC, hey, you guys might think that Binance US is an unregistered securities exchange, but you haven't proven that. And we have this whole bankruptcy and Chapter 11 thing going on. These creditors need their money back. We're not going to hold up and wait for more due diligence on if you guys think this is an unregistered security or not. Like, we have to keep moving forward. And so it seems like the SEC angle is going to be pushed away, but now we have a new hurdle with this DOJ thing looking into Voyager's books. And that might actually give the SEC more time to look into Binance US. So the more this goes on, there seems to be more problems. It's funny that it's with Voyager, right? Because I always thought that Celsius was going to be the one that had bigger problems, because we had all these things from Alex Mashinsky. We had all these things from the Celsius group. But we care about the community. We care about our token holders. I haven't seen that much from them. Everything's been about Voyager, which I thought was more or less above board. But I guess the DOJ and other alphabet soup companies in Washington, D.C. have something else to think about. Jen, I'll throw it back over to you.
I really like that this judge is putting his foot down. So he's saying that Voyager should not be penalized for carrying out a court-approved sale. I like the language he's using there. This judge has approved the sale. Over 97% of creditors have voted for this to go through. He said that if the DOJ or any government agency had evidence of any misconduct specifically related to the bankruptcy, they should have presented it in Court. And of course, Wiles also overruled an objection from the SEC earlier on in the same proceedings. My take on this is that these government regulators need to take a step back and just make clear rules. I will say this on the show every day until the day that I die. If we have clear rules, they could be really strict rules. I don't even care anymore. Just make clear rules, and then we won't have this back and forth. And creditors, investors, retail will no longer be affected. Zach, I'm giving it to you for last thoughts.
Yeah, clear rules are hard, and the process of governing is hard, right? You have all these different bodies within the US government. It's not this one monolithic entity. It's not one guy. Clearly, you have this judge here disputing what some regulatory agencies and enforcement agencies are presenting in this case and coming to a consensus around things where they don't necessarily map neatly onto existing categories of what is and isn't a security, right? These are just not easy sort of conversions in a lot of these cases. Like, is VGX really security, or is it indeed a utility token because it gives users of this platform some additional benefit? Same could be said of BNB with Binance, right? So it's like these unsettled questions, and we keep seeing these unsettled questions, and it's really hard to resolve them with any degree of clarity. And I think we're going to keep sounding that alarm for a long time to come.